Guys. So back to the house. Now I want you to look into something about parenting. Yeah. So when you're a parent, sometimes what you do you may think is the best, but over the holiday I met these friends and they were like, oh, sometimes what we do is out of the past. Maybe we went through a life in which parents were very strict with us, they were beating us, and we had no time to complain, right? So at that point, then we learned that the only way to handle conflict is to beat up somebody, like quarrel. And therefore, that trend goes on because by the time you become a parent, then you do exactly that. But now we are dealing with different generations, right? So the times we grow is not the times they're growing. So their reactions might be just different. Now I'm considering Gen Z, and today at work we were just saying, okay, there are these bosses who want you to be at work from 7 to 7. Like they don't want to see you getting away, even if you work the best. Like they believe in the old system in which somebody has to be at work all the time. They think that is what will make you work. Yeah. Yeah, so guys, it's called parenting. There are so many booklets written on parenting. People are discussing every day. Sometimes you are fixed in how to handle kids, and you're like, okay, let me ask a friend. Parenting is one of the most difficult thing to do. So today, why I brought up this subject is as a result of the OBINNA interview that he was just sharing. And I was on it and I was like, okay. So sometimes you don't have to blame OBINNA. Even for being with so many baby mamas and kids, I don't blame him actually. In my view, that is. Maybe for you, you don't give a damn. Yesterday I just saw people and they were like, okay. There was an interview OBINNA held, and OBINNA was like, don't see a woman and admire. Don't see a woman and think she's the best. Wait until you experience what you'll experience. Now, out there we have women who think they are the best, but sometimes they don't have husbands, and I don't blame them, by the way. As for me, I don't believe somebody doesn't have a husband because they are bad, or they don't have a wife because they are bad, even though there are such situations. So, guys, it's not about how good you are or bad, but it's just being, again, lucky, or sometimes you may have that ability to stand some things, or maybe your destiny, right? So, I want you to look at this conversation a bit, and we will be breaking in. So tell me, can you continue blaming OBINNA when you listen
The
to
way I
this?
came to Nairobi
So
is my dad he told me he was coming to kill me.
Huh?
Yeah, I remember the conversation that day.
Amekuona in advance.
Yeah, they came wakapata nimefanya kitu. So what happened was me and my dad were not in good spirits, so babangu akasema nisipatiwe food. Unaona? So mamangu alikuwa ananifichia food sometimes. Then kuna time nika discover tuko na mahindi. Unaona zile mahindi tulikuwa na dondoa tunaweka kwa nini, nikagundua ziko kwa drum hapo kwa hao for us to eat. But nikaangalia nikasema this nigga has been doing this, let me sell this maize. I sold. So my mom.
All right, so guys, you've heard about OBINNA. He's indicating the poor relationship he had with his dad. If we listen more, we'll understand that he only related well with the father. Maybe the time he fails, there are 2 times. I don't know what to talk about. I can't say actually my father was that bad. But I don't know. The parents, those times, they were kind of parents who could just give instructions, tell us what to do, give us the expectations. Yeah, so guys, in past, you didn't have a chance to tell a parent what you should do and all that. Yeah? So let's think about this. When you relate with the children, do you ask yourself, maybe whatever you tell them, whether it affects them or not? Do you even think of some punishments, whether they are working or not? Sometimes we just say African children need some, beatings or all that. Sometimes, actually, I have kids, and sometimes it can be very difficult on you. You tell a kid do this and they can't do it. You tell them stop this and they can't stop. So you are like, okay, So what do I do? And you end up sometimes slapping them, beating them up, and not too much anyway. But I'm just looking at the situation whereby a parent tells you, when I come back, I should find you gone because I will kill you. That's a very heavy, hard word to use. I don't remember my parents actually using such specific words. They could sometimes beat us up. They could threaten. But saying they'll kill you, I used to go to my grandparents' place, and there is a time a neighbor who used to even smother her kids or the wife. And that is one thing that I really was surprised. I was about 12 when I learned of this, and I was like, okay, so a parent can smother a child. So I don't know what you think about this, but I think it's a very wrong flight to book as a parent. If that is the way you could want to exhibit your authority, then that's the worst. Now, OBINNA tells us that as they lived at Manyata, he experienced this molestation from the father. The father, like, there was no good relationship, and he was there trying to impress the father. Now, I'm asking, should your children do things to impress you, or should they do because that is what they think is the best to do? Now, where do they even get the lessons? That's what I'm trying to understand. As a child, where do you get lessons? Do you get lessons from parents? Like, if parents are doing wrong, do you adapt that? If parents are using physical punishment, do you adapt that? This takes me to another step whereby somebody somewhere keeps insisting on upbringing, and I'm like, okay, so do we disregard sociology? You know, sociology tells us that when we are born, you are within a very small circle, yeah? You are just within the home, and maybe you will be interacting more with the mother or father. Now, there is this now community. When you come out of the community, and now you are relating with schoolmates, you are relating with neighbors, and then now it goes beyond that because there is the church, there is the media, there is, you know, there are so many other factors. And I also wonder whether it's about what others around you, or just you, or the family. So it's, anyway, that's a topic for another day. Let's go back to our topic of OBINNA, and I'm trying to look at the effect of how parents treat us. Yeah, like you are a parent now, or you are a child. How would you wish to be treated, and how does the treatment your parent offer you affect you? This is something I would really want people to come on board and talk about it, right? Yeah, because sometimes we do things not because we want to, but because we just find ourselves doing them. And unless somebody points out, and people, when I went to the inbox, people were like, oh, OBINNA, such things, you don't talk about them in public. Others were like, you just forgive and forget. Others were like, this reminds me about my childhood, when my father told me atakula maini yangu. That was such a surprising statement. Then there was somebody again who said, I love the way OBINNA relates with the boy, at least. And I think it's wrong to judge OBINNA for sharing this. It's right that he shared because, of course, he's not sharing out of pain. He already said he forgave. And not necessarily that the father asked for forgiveness. He said just out of just doing away with it. So I believe when he shares it in a podcast, or whether it's in a blogging session or interview, it's for the good. I don't think he did it for a negative aspect. He did it to let other parents currently to know that it's wrong to, you know, threaten kids. You know, when you threaten them, then you can see he sold a phone, then in a train, begged with the mother. Mother was crying, then went to Nairobi. And you remember the story around OBINNA. So I was like, okay, sometimes you may threaten thinking it's just a threat. But by the way, I have a friend who says the father was quite cruel to him. And from high school, finishing of high school up to the time he was in university, he felt like the father totally neglected him. In fact, even in high school, the father had money, but he could not pay fees. He only paid once, and the rest of the time he neglected. Then when he came back home, he could be mistreated, you know. and then is not given food. Sometimes, you know, such a child, if God does not stand with you, may become delinquent, criminal, and even that. So how do you feel with this rejection? You know, I was just going back even to Jackie. You see, Jackie shared this, the rejection the mother offered to her. And so someone was like, rejected kids are always successful. Okay, that statement may be right, but I don't believe all of them are successful. Why? Because sometimes if you reject a child and they take it negatively and it impacts on them, they may not turn up successful. Thank God Ogobina is successful, but I know there might be so many kids who have been affected because of such treatment from parents. Now, this interview is a lesson to many of us that sometimes we don't have to threaten kids. Let's treat them better. And even if there are challenges they go through, we can maybe use other ways. We can even learn from other people. We can use research to find out how to deal with them. Because when you look at what Ogobina was sharing, like all through his life, only 2 moments he was happy. And remember at the age he left home. So remember, such kids go to school and sometimes they seek sympathy from wrong people. If we have teachers or workers who can sympathize with them and yet take advantage of them, even our neighboring environments, of course they'll be seeking that love from elsewhere. And what happens then? What wrong would a child do that you will threaten them and feel like you must tell them that they are off or you kill them? That would be too much. Yeah, so I don't know if you're a kind of parent who takes even a knife and threatens to kill a child or a panga or such. Yeah, so that would be too much. I know currently people are doing things, some are even killing their kids, and that's too bad. Yeah, so Obinna has, through this interview, I thank you because you are teaching so many people about so many things that they should learn. So let's again listen to another part that I saw. He was sharing from this video, especially about that part of happiness, and was so happy when talking about that.
Hapa no, itakuwa noma. I decided to leave. That time nimesikia train. There's a train that passes near our home in Nairobi. So I had sold a phone. I had a Vodafone that nilibuy. Kuna schoolmate wangu aliniuzia na ikuwa na password. Zile za Safaricom, zile zilikuwa ngatika 1000. Nilizia kitu ka 700. So I had sold it to someone when I'd guessed the password.
Right,
Guess, nikapatanga
like,
one time.
Okay.
So I sold it.
Children normally like to be in good relationship with us, and sometimes as parents we might not understand. But when a friend just told me, when you see even a kid coming by you, even if they are big enough, you can hold them sometimes. You know, you just call them good names and they'll feel good. You know, they get that satisfaction from you and they might not seek it from somebody else. Sometimes I get so, it's so funny that you get a student who is not even focused in class because they are seeking love from somebody who does not even know what parenting is. Or maybe somebody who does not even have any relationship with them. This means that they are missing something. Maybe their parenting was not proper. And so I think it's right that you give your kids the love they deserve. And that's why I always say when it reaches 4, that's my family time. Yeah? It's my family time. I have to get to the house and make sure that I relate with my kids. Yeah? And see how they grow. And an institution or a company that cares about family will exactly give you your time off with your kids and family. Because if families are not, given that time, then there's a lot of harm than good that is done. You might work for that money, but then at the end, what? Yeah, so listening to this part of the interview, then I realized that Ogobina missed a lot in life. Thank God he's a good father and he has struggled to have all the kids with him. And he's actually made 3 different kids, 4, from different families sit together in peace, because it's like playing a double role and making sure that they don't miss what he missed. So I believe we should applaud him instead of now beginning to critique. You know, we critique everything in Kenya. Kenya for you. Yeah, so this is an expedition that I believe it's a learning point. Yeah, so right. So thank you. Have a nice time.